I spent 3 years getting other people lean. I knew every calorie formula, every training split, every macronutrient trick, and I still gained 15 kilos of body fat. If you've ever known exactly what to do but still couldn't do it, this video is exactly for you. I'll take you through the whole story. So I was a coach in a gym for around 3 years. I was coaching people to get lean, and I had this one big problem. I knew exactly what to do. I knew how to manipulate my own training. I knew how to diet, or so it seemed, but I still gained a lot of body fat. And I think that was because of just the fact that we fall into this trap, this knowledge trap of thinking we know what to do, so why shouldn't we be able to follow through with what we want to do? And the stress of coaching clients. So I worked very, very unsociable hours. I was working from 6 in the morning till about 12 midday. I would go home for a few hours and then I would work 4 till 9 p.m. at night. And the stress and the burden of that slowly degrades on you over time, and you do start to neglect yourself. And you've probably been in a similar situation yourself where you're working long hours, you get to the end of the day and you're absolutely shattered. You don't want to train, you don't want to look after yourself, you don't want to prioritize anything that you should be prioritizing, especially when it comes to your health. And it's those small micro decisions that add up over time. Because think of it, you never get fat from just eating a Twix bar, do you? You don't eat a Twix bar and think, fuck it, I've just gained 5 kilos of body fat. It is a gradual and slow process where it's a 200 calorie surplus over the course of multiple months. Next thing you know, you've weighed in after months of not doing so, and that small surplus has created you to gain maybe 10 kilos of body fat. That's how it happens, unfortunately. That is exactly what happened to me. I wasn't following through with weighing in. I wasn't tracking my food. I was very hit and miss with my own nutrition, even though I was a coach and I should have been on point and dialed in. And I knew it had gone too far when I was in a relationship at a time and we were getting takeaways all the time. You know the thing, you know how it goes. New relationship, you're eating out all the time, you're having a little bit of fun, and you just let yourself go. You just completely get warped into that newbie relationship phase, and you get sucked into eating all the time, lots of fun foods, and just having a good time, which is fine every now and then. But what really tipped it over the edge for me is that I wasn't really comfortable taking my top off in front of that person. I was okay in a t-shirt, like t-shirt on, yeah, fine. But it was when I came to take my t-shirt off, that was the big problem for me. I would squirm, I would hesitate before I actually did so. And at some point, I didn't take it off. I kept my t-shirt on, and it was a very, very tough time for me. And that was ultimately my tipping point when I knew something had to change. But what really tipped me over the edge after that is that relationship started to fail. I was feeling anxious all the time. I had an anxious relationship attachment to this person. I was thinking about that certain situation all the time, and it was playing on my mind for most of the day. And that lasted for months. And then what happened? I was already letting my nutrition slip, and then it just slipped and slipped and slipped until it got to a position where I was 15 kilos overweight. So what did I do? I was turning to food. Once that relationship ended, I was groveling. I was the only happiness that I had and joy that I had in my life was taken away from me. So as humans, we naturally just gravitate towards food and alcohol and drugs. And for me, it was food. I use food as comfort. I had nothing else going on for me. I was neglecting my health. Business was good, but again, I was working really unsociable hours. I was stressed all the time. At the time, I was really considering not even doing in-person PT sessions anymore because it was so intense and long hours. And I was coaching and helping people through the stages of change, aiming to help them lose weight. And at the same time, I was slowly but surely gaining weight. And in the back of my head, I knew my clients could see. You could see when I came into work, my face was getting a little bit chubbier. I was down in the dumps and my skin didn't look good because I was eating greasy food all the time. And it had to change. I would be binging in secret. I would not be letting anyone know or see me eating a copious amount of food behind the scenes, because I was got into a position where it got that bad. I would order chocolate pizzas, which was delicious, don't get me wrong, but when you've slammed down 2 in a row, it really does get bad. So then I decided to make a change. I needed to diet. I needed to prove that I could walk the walk as a coach, because I knew my clients could see me failing at my own diet. And then what does that do? I think in the back of my head, people would be thinking, my clients specifically, he's a coach, he should be in shape, he should be able to follow through with his own diets. And that's what really drove me. That's what really made me change my course of action. So I started a diet, and again, I was still going through this breakup at a time. I got a coach. I got a coach to hold me accountable. But at the same time, I was still binging in secret. I was going through such an uncomfortable and stressful period of my life that throughout that diet, I would be great all week. Monday to Friday, I'm on it. I'm making sure everything's tracked and weighed out to the gram. But then when it comes to the weekend, I would feel like I could slack off. I would feel so uncomfortable with what I was going through. Again, I would go and use food as a coping mechanism. I would order a big chocolate pizza 2 at some point, and I wouldn't let anyone know I would be having it. Sometimes I would go out the house and just go to the shop and say I'm going on a walk and just eat a big bag of sweets without anyone knowing. And why did I do that? It's because I had nothing else to do. The only joy that I was getting from life, because the diet was uncomfortable, I was hungry all the time, I was stressed from work, my clients could see that I was gaining weight, which was another big pressure, my relationship had ended, it was all coming to this very one point now where it would come at a crossroads. I could either turn left and keep on going the way I am and be in a hole, or I could turn right and I could change my life around and start acting like the person I wanted to become. And at the same time, I was lying to the people around me. I was lying to my coach, first and foremost. I wasn't saying when I was overeating, which it was most days, to be quite honest with you, looking back. It was definitely most weekends when it was easily 4,000 calories on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I was lying to the people around me, saying I was fine all the time. But in actual fact, I was going through quite a lot of stress and I was just disappointed in myself. I was feeling a lot of shame and guilt of what I'd been going through but not actually spoken about it. Again, this is probably resonating with quite a few of you watching this now, because stress and life circumstances, things get in the way. There's always going to be some form of spanner in the works now. So the real reason why I specifically gained weight was the knowledge trap. I know what to do, but I didn't do it anyway. I let my standards slip. I was researching lots of things. I knew every single training method, every single technique, everything to do with nutrition, everything. But I still wasn't doing what I needed to do day to day. And that might be something that you do as well. You know what to do, but the question that we've got to ask ourselves, and the one that I ask myself, is why the hell are we not doing it? And again, I let my standards slip. I let life get in the way. I was just waiting for that perfect time to start. I probably should have started as soon as I got in that new relationship, because then the takeaways could have at least been half of the takeaways we had together. Life was getting in the way, and it's probably something you say to yourself all the time. I'm just going to start when life calms down. When life's a little less busier, that's when I'm going to start. But you'll soon learn, and I've learned this through experience and through a lot of challenges, that there is no time to actually start taking action. And that is the hardest thing to do. It is just to start taking action. There's so many times you can watch the YouTube videos on learning about these different methods, but actually implementing it day to day is the hardest thing to do. And it's what I was personally finding myself as well. And even sticking to it long term. But at least once you've started, you've then done the hardest bit. And that's what I was saying to myself in my head. I've started this diet, even though I'm going through a lot of stuff at the moment. I've just started. And what I kept on replaying in my mind was I was an authority figure, or I should have been. I need to be walking the walk so that my clients will listen to me more. Because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a coach that's out of shape and telling clients to do X, Y, and Z when it comes to cardio and diet, and then they're not also following through with that as well. So I felt like I needed to start making a change so that not only I can respect myself, but my clients can respect me as well. I was ashamed that I didn't look like a coach or a PT at the time. And I dreaded holidays coming up. I had a few holidays booked in, and I just dreaded them. I knew I had to go clothes shopping because all the ones that I had at the minute just didn't fit nice. And then when I would go clothes shopping, I would go into the change rooms anxious with a selection of clothes that I knew weren't going to look good. And I would hate clothes shopping because I would put something on and nothing would look good on me. Nothing would fit the way I would want it to fit. I would see all these people on holidays previously, they would be wearing these nice tight fit black t-shirts. They would be really hugging the physique, and they wouldn't have a care in the world about the t-shirt being too tight because they had put in the work to actually wear clothes like that. And I wanted to be that person. But here's what people won't tell you. Fixing everything at once is another reason why you fail as well. Because what you need to do is you need to take it step by step. And this is what I like to do with my clients, to produce no overwhelm or extra overwhelm with everything else going on. Because if you are going through a tough time in life at the minute, you've got this going on and that going on, you've got kids, you've got work, you've got bills to pay. There's too many things going on at the minute to add in even more things and more stress, because it's just going to cause even more friction for you to actually get started. So what I was doing, I was already eating 5 or 6 meals a day. 2 of those meals were chocolate pizzas. I was just going out of absolutely crazy. So I started just fasting. I was overcomplicating things. I was trying to optimize things, but in actual fact, it was just stressing me out even more. And it was just not allowing me to actually stick to that diet. So I started fasting from around 6 till about 12. And then I was eating from 12 to around 8. And that just really worked with me, especially with the hours I was working. I did all my PT clients, I would come home, I would eat, and then I would eat again before my other PT clients in the evening, as well as when I got home as well. And I would just repeat that process. And I stopped focusing on optimizing every single detail. Again, I'm guilty as charged. Looking at YouTube videos to get every minor detail in place. You're missing the forest for the trees, if that's the right saying. I think it is. You're missing the bread and butter of it all. You're missing the fact that you don't need to focus on the minute details. You're not a bodybuilder. You're not someone who is doing a competition, because it's just causing extra stress and it's making you not take action because you've got so many things to focus on and optimize. So this is why I like to keep it simple. Focus on a calorie intake, focus on a step count, and focus on a number of sessions you can complete across the week when life does get busy. And it's exactly what I did. As soon as my client load went up and up and up, my training sessions come down, especially in those busy weeks, to around 2 or 3. And I made sure, yes, it wasn't optimal. I wasn't growing as much muscle as I could have done. It allowed me to stick to things longer term. And I stopped that all or nothing mindset. I found a middle ground. There's a lot of times, again, in my history of dieting, especially my clients as well, where when we're going all in, the ceiling's up here. You can do anything and everything that you want. But as soon as you click out of that mindset, you go to rock bottom. You go towards the floor. And even sometimes you go towards the basement as well. So this is why you need to work on, right, what is that middle ground? And what I really like to look at is minimum viable habits, the MVHs. So this is where, when life does get super busy, when it does get excruciatingly uncomfortable, what are the minimum things that you can do that is still effective, that can still tick you over for a 1 or 2 week period? So for me, I was training 5 days a week. On those busy weeks, I would train 3 days. And it can just be as simple as that. Another one is that I was maybe doing 15K steps per day. That rarely changed because I was on my feet all the time with PT clients. But another one that I use with clients is we just bring the steps down a little bit. Can you hit 10K per day? And then on the weeks where you can go for that 15, build it back up again. So from starting from this position here, I was fat, I was overweight, I was ashamed and feeling guilty of the fact that I actually looked like this as a coach and PT. And then I actually did a very, very long diet and I transformed into doing this, which is a bodybuilding show. I made sure I was on point and booked in this show and a couple of photo shoots beforehand to keep me on track, so that over time I would not slip up on that diet. And if I did, I would get right back on track because I knew I had a photo shoot and a show to work towards. And I booked that in because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do something really challenging and uncomfortable. And that mental journey that I went through built up my resilience to the uncomfortable stages of going through that diet, because it does get uncomfortable. It was very challenging. There was so many times where I would overeat, I would lie to my coach, I would binge in secret, I would go over my calories time and time again, but at the same time, I still followed through and I still made sure I got to the end stage of that diet in the shape that I wanted to achieve. The reason why I gained the weight wasn't because I didn't know what to do. It was because I thought knowing was enough to get a result. Knowledge without action is just trivia. And I was the best and well-informed fat person I knew. What changed wasn't learning more. It was admitting that knowing and doing are completely different skills. And I'd been using the complete wrong one. If you already know what to do, this is your sign to stop learning more and just start doing. Take action today. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because I'll be posting every 7 days. See you soon.